Good day, everyone, and welcome to today's Stonesoft Advanced Evasion Techniques Question and Answer conference call. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode, and I will be standing by should you need any assistance. It is now my pleasure to turn the conference over to Mr. Matt McKinley. Please go ahead, sir.
Hello, everyone. As he said, my name is Matt McKinley, and I'm with Stonesoft. Welcome to the Advanced Evasion Technique Q&A session hosted by Stonesoft and ICSA Laboratories. With us today is Jack Walsh, Anti-Spam and Network IPS Program Manager with ICSA Labs, and also Mark Boltz, a Senior Solutions Architect with Stonesoft. For the agenda, first we're going to have a brief update about the Advanced Evasion Technique announcement, and we're going to follow that with the actual live Q&A session. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mark and Jack.
Hello, everyone. This is Mark Boltz with Stonesoft. Thank you for joining us today for this Q&A session. We'll get right to your questions in just a moment. Just wanted to kind of give everybody an update on where things are currently with our research and where we are in the process of the vulnerability disclosures with CERT Finland and so on, and then we'll go from there. Stonesoft initially brought up the advanced evasion techniques that our researchers came across while doing research into improving our IPS product, and gave CERT Finland information about the vulnerability, quasi-vulnerability disclosure, and what the problem is in technical detail. We provided 16 packet captures initially several months ago. CERT Finland began the coordination process with other CERT centers as well as with the affected vendor community. ICSA Labs also stepped in to help independently validate our testing results and our research to date. And from there to yesterday, we actually introduced a new set of 26 additional packet captures to provide more technical information to the vendor community and to the CERT centers. And that's where we are right now with that. And to that, I guess we'll go ahead and open it up to the questions that you folks have and see what we can do to help answer them.
Certainly, and at this time, if you wish to ask a question, please press the star and 1 on your touch-tone phone now. That's star and 1 to enter the question queue. We'll pause momentarily to allow any questions to queue. And once again, as a reminder, that's star, then 1 on your touch-tone phone. And I'm showing we have no questions in queue at this time. Oh, we will go first to the side of Joe Strasser with iPoint Networks. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
My question is that you found this vulnerability. How likely is it to be a current exploit that's being used in the wide area network?
This is Mark with Stonesoft. That's a very good question, and it's actually one we've come across fairly often in our discussions with the media and with the technical community at large. And our answer to that is we do not believe or have reason to believe that it is something that these techniques are being widely used in the wild at this time. Really, the point of our research to date and the information that we've provided is really to get community interest behind this and get the vendor community to start working towards a solution proactively this time rather than the typical reactive state that we tend to operate in as security professionals. And so we don't believe there's any reason that these things are actually being used as techniques in the wild today, although we have no proof one way or the other. By their very nature, advanced evasion techniques are difficult, if not impossible, to detect by current technologies. So we wouldn't really know one way or the other, but we don't have reason to believe that there's a great likelihood of them being used today.
Thanks.
And once again, if you wish to ask a question, please press the star, then 1 on your touch-tone phone now. Star and 1 to ask a question. And I'm showing we have no more questions in queue at this time. And once again, that's star, then 1 to ask a question.
Hello, everyone. This is Matthew McKinley again. Mark, in the meantime, would you mind explaining a little bit about the differences between current evasion techniques and the advanced evasion techniques?
Certainly, and maybe this will help foster some questions from the callers at large to kind of get into the same thing that a lot of folks have been discussing so far. Stonesoft's research is really based on 12 years of research that have been done by the community as a whole on evasion techniques. We are certainly not claiming in any way, shape, or form that evasions themselves are something new. Quite to the contrary, some of the first research papers on evasion techniques came out back with the Patachek and Newsham paper in 1998. Vern Paxson and some other folks wrote a paper in 2001 talking about some of the techniques that could be used to circumvent IPS and IDS systems. That research, of course, has also been extended by Brian Caswell and H.D. Moore. H.D. Moore, of course, being the founder of Metasploit. And what we've done is we've taken that existing set of evasion techniques, which numbers maybe about 24, so about 24 different kinds of techniques that can be used and combined in different ways. And in researching those and in researching other possibilities and really kind of thinking outside the box, our researchers extended that set quite dramatically to discover that there's a whole new set, a much broader set of quite a few more. I think there's at least 64 additional techniques that you can pile onto the original set. And then combine all of those with the new ones and the old ones in various ways. What makes advanced evasion techniques particularly interesting and dangerous if the community doesn't step up and start taking action on them to improve our products and to improve the solution set is that while it's true that you can take any of the well-known evasions and use them against a given product or two in the marketplace, the challenge of advanced evasion techniques is that you can create a superset of a combination of advanced evasion techniques that you no longer have to care as the attacker what kind of systems are in place to protect the target system, because you know that certain combinations will be effective regardless of the technology in use. And so the important thing here is to really kind of get the vendor community to say, hey, it's been 12 years, there's been some research done in this, but nobody's really kind of stepped up and advanced the research and worked on driving the community to come up with a solution to the problem. We believe you can have effective solutions at the end of the day, but it's going to require a bit of rethinking about how we're doing things as security professionals. And we really want to kind of just bring this to the attention of the community to make sure that we solve this problem sooner rather than later.
And it looks like we do have a question in queue. We'll go back to the side of Joe Strasser with iPoint Networks. Your line is open. Please go ahead, sir.
Looks like I have all the questions. So how quickly is Stonesoft going to have a solution in place to deal with this? I believe by advertising this or making the community aware now will generate a research pattern on the enemy line side, let's say, and they will actually start to move forward to this. So that brings the timeline of having to get this in place to deal with it much closer.
That is true. Just as to an extent. I mean, there's a certain time window where, yes, the black hat community, if you will, does have an opportunity to also do their research and figure out what these techniques are and how to use them. But at the same time, advanced evasion techniques are not something, let's say, for the faint of heart. They do require some amount of sophisticated knowledge. And in our case, in our research, for example, we essentially had to do an extensive amount of code work to develop these techniques, and that's a process that took us quite say 2 to 3 years worth of work. At the same time, Stonesoft has been working on, as we discovered techniques that worked against our own IPS, we did start working on resolving those issues within our normalization engine to our IPS technology, so that the latest versions of StoneGate, we believe, are fairly effective at addressing the different types of techniques and their combinations that are possible. And what's also important is that, in general, vendors need to be sure, of course, that they have an architecture that supports rapid updates, centralized management, the ability to drive updates out to the different devices on the network in a fairly rapid manner, as you essentially need and want to expect from any kind of security technology today anyway. We believe that a fair amount of vendors have taken that approach, and we're hoping that by providing this information through the CERT centers and coordinating this and driving community interest to tell the vendors in general, let's try and solve this problem now, that we're closing that window of opportunity so that it favors the solution providers rather than the black hat community at this point. I hope that was clear enough to answer your question. And are there any other questions?
Certainly, we do have another question in queue, and as a reminder, if you wish to enter the phone queue, that's star and 1 on your touchtone phone. Star and 1 to ask a question. We'll go next to the side of Sam Gordon with Scion Corporation. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks. So I see that you guys are recommending IP protocol normalization, which I agree is the right solution. But I was wondering if you had anything in mind for the areas in which the protocols are ambiguous or possibly ignored. For example, that some systems will keep old data for overlapping packet segments, and some systems will keep the new data. And if you're normalizing, might you be discarding something that might affect normal behavior of a system?
Yes, and I believe it was actually one of your papers that was one of the research papers that we actually looked at in terms of discussing normalization engines and re-architecting IPS technologies, essentially based off of your work.
Not surprising. I think it's the right way to go then.
Yeah, and we still see that, just as you guys alluded to in your paper, that there are certainly some challenges to the normalization engine because certain protocols are fairly ambiguous, and not knowing what the target systems are and the variety of target